Thank you, Chairman Grassley, and members of the Senate Judiciary Committee for having me today. My name is Felicia Cook. I'm a lifelong Washingtonian. My grandson, Marty William McMillan Jr., was tragically murdered in Washington, D.C. on April 23rd, 2017. Marty was my firstborn grandson. We were very close. My world turned upside down the day he died. It felt as though everything had gone dark, and even breathing became painful. We had no answers. It seemed like no one really cared. After weeks of not hearing from anyone, I was shocked to learn that no one had been assigned to Marty's case at the 5th District. My own family investigated, solved the case. On Marty's birthday, January 11th, 2018, my daughter received a devastating news that the coroner had Marty's remains was found on the side of the road on Suitland Parkway. It had been 9 long months since we had seen or heard anything. I was told that they couldn't charge my grandson's killer with first-degree murder. He shot my grandson in cold blood 7 times. And they didn't consider that as first-degree murder. They act like we would be lucky if we got manslaughter. The bottom line is that murder in D.C. is treated as a joke when it comes time to justice. My Marty killer received only maybe 16 years, which will likely be served concurrently with the time he was already serving for the charge of guns and drugs. In total, he may end up doing just 10 years in the actual jail. And 5 of those may be probation. How can that be? After years of waiting to go to trial, the judge, after hearing my family's impact statements, asked the killer if he had anything he wanted to say. She said to him, "It must be a stressful day for you to have to sit here and listen to all of that." He killed our loved one. And after everything we went through, they seem to be more sympathetic to him than us, the victims. How long do we have to suffer? This must change. We need to stop killers being sentenced with minimum time, allowing them to come back out and potentially kill someone else. This is wrong. Someone needs to change these laws. I don't care who makes the changes. It needs to happen. I'm simply asking for someone to do the right thing, please. If you take a life, you should serve a life. That's my opinion. A life sentence. It's just that simple. I'm grateful for President Trump, and I am, for hearing my voice. As he's doing something to make this thing safe. I can see the total difference since President Trump been focusing on D.C. I'm more comfortable being here. I feel safer here. I know others do too. I do. Thank you for listening. And it took this administration to address and have me heard, allow me to be heard. I appreciate thanking and everyone that took the time to hear me, because no one heard me before. I did rallies and marches. I stood in the Department of Justice. I went to see Mayor Bowser. I asked him to help. And my family did not get justice, and nobody heard me until now. Thank you, President Trump.
Senator Britt, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I appreciate all of you being here today to discuss this important topic. Look, let's be clear. The problem that we're facing today was created by blue cities, was created by plans coming from the other side of the aisle, whether it's cashless bail policies, downgrading classifications of whole categories of crimes, undermining rights and protections afforded by law enforcement officers like we saw in D.C. in 2022, which Detective Pemberton, I want to talk to you about that, or creating systems to ensure that pretrial releases of even the most violent offenders, like what happened in Memphis, were done. So when we're looking at this, I take issue with what the ranking member had to say. He specifically pointed out Alabama. Truth be told, 8% of our population in Birmingham and Montgomery accounts for 40% of our crime. Both of those cities have been run by Democratic mayors, and in particular in Birmingham for the last 50 years. The mayor has been a Democrat. So we can't pick and choose here and pretend like that is a whole state problem. We're talking about specific areas, and we want to keep these people safe. Here's the deal. Why can't we all agree that, Mrs. Cook, your grandson never deserved to die? Your grandson should still be with us today. And we need to utilize every tool in our toolbox to make sure that that is the reality for another grandmother somewhere in DC or wherever across this country. And you said today that when you told your story that no one heard you. You said you showed up in the mayor's office. You said that you led movements and you tried to gather people to bring attention to this. You asked for answers, and for months and months and months and months, nobody would give you any. Nobody felt like that your grandson was worthy of finding who killed him and shooting him, what you said, 7 times, and holding them accountable. You said today, for the very first time, you feel heard. Can you talk to me about what it means with President Trump placing emphasis on keeping our communities safe, what it means to someone like you who has lost someone, your very firstborn grandson, so near and dear to your heart?
Yes, I can. Hello. Yes, I can, and thank you for that. As I said, I'm a Washingtonian. I'm 69 years old. I grew up in Washington. I know it well. I went to school there, so I know crime in our city. And I know that the laws and the legislators and a lot of things need to be changed to combat it. If we don't send a killer message, then they're gonna keep killing. If you're only gonna give me a slap on the wrist and you're gonna let me out, then when I got that vacation, 3 hots in the cot for a little while, got some rest, I come back out and I do the same thing. I have not learned. There's no reform in there. And when it comes time to my grandson, and I'm living with that, and he only gets maybe 10 years, he shot my grandson, not 7 times, sweetie, 8. And then he took his body and threw it on the side of Suitland Parkway. And we had to look for my grandson. When we got back bones. It took us 9 months to find his remains, and we had to find his remains. We had to solve the case. We had to do the investigation. DC has had money to be able to do things like this until now. When someone is standing up and talking about it, then we want to raise our heads and say we want to do something. Something could have been done a long time ago.
Thank you. Thank you for raising your voice. I appreciate it.
You know, it's clear from this hearing the Democrat talking points have come out. Both Senator Padilla and Senator Booker spent a great deal of time talking about, quote, red states. There's a reason they were talking about red states, because unfortunately most red states have blue cities, and that's where the crime is. If you want to look at in 2023, the large cities with the most homicides per 100,000 people, number 1 was New Orleans, Louisiana. Number 2 was Memphis, Tennessee. Number 3 was St. Louis City. Number 4 was Baltimore City. Number 5 was Washington, D.C. Democrat crime policies kill people. Soros DAs who let murderers out of jail kill people. When you don't prosecute violent criminals, innocent victims die. Right here in Washington, D.C., in 2012, murders in D.C. totaled fewer than 100. By 2023, murders had nearly tripled, 274 lives taken in a single year. These are the real-world consequences of Democrat crime policies that let murderers go. It is very simple cause and effect. If you release murderers onto the street, they will kill people, and they do it all across the country. And we need to understand these are not just numbers. Here are some of the faces behind those numbers. Edward Korestein, 19, brutally assaulted during a carjacking attempt in D.C. Eric Tarpinian Jakim, 21, a young congressional intern gunned down in the capital city. Honesty Cheadle, 3 years old, just a toddler, killed by stray gunfire. Sarah Lynn Milgram, 26, and Yaron Lachinsky, 30, Israeli embassy staffers newly in love on the verge of engagement, brutally murdered. Mike Gill, 56, a husband, father of 3. Former Trump administration official shot in cold blood during a D.C. carjacking rampage. These aren't just names. These are sons and daughters, husbands and wives, parents and grandchildren. Mrs. Cook, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the unbelievable pain and loss that you have endured through the loss of your grandson. I'm sorry that happened. Your grandson should have been protected. The city should have protected your grandson. He should still be alive. And tragically, this pattern keeps on happening. And I would point out again, Senator Booker, and it seems none of the Democrats are here now, Senator Booker said we should be bipartisan. I can think of few issues that are more natural for bipartisanship than stopping crime. It used to be the case. You know, this committee used to work together when it came to violent crime. It's only been in the last few years that elected Democrats have decided that releasing violent criminals is something to be celebrated. Earlier, Mr. Taylor made reference to Soros DAs. George Soros has spent millions of dollars electing DAs all over the country who turn around and let violent criminals go. The Democrat Party unleashed the crazy with the Abolish the Police movement. And the Abolish the Police movement wasn't just in the abstract. Cities all across the country slash funding for police. Minneapolis slashed the funding for police. The NYPD cut its funding over $1 billion. Sadly, Austin, Texas cut the funding for its police $150 million. When you take police off the streets, people die. There's a direct cause and effect, but there are 2 ways to abolish the police. One is going after the police themselves, which Democrats have decided that is their party position. But the second way you abolish the police is you put in place Soros DAs who just won't charge anyone. That means the police cannot do their job because when they arrest a murderer, a Soros DA turns around and lets them go. When they arrest a carjacker, a Soros DA turns around and lets them go. And for the life of me, I do not understand why Democrats are not celebrating the reduction in crime. Go back to the reduction in crime in D.C. that we've seen with the guard on the ground. You should be cheering a 57% decrease in crime, robbery, a 58% decrease in homicide. There are people in D.C. alive because the guard is there, and not a single Democrat is saying, that's good. Not a single Democrat is saying, we're glad those people are alive. Instead, they're saying, take them off the street and let the murderers run free.
Thanks to all the witnesses for being here. Ms. Cook, I want to say thank you especially to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for telling your story. And I'm sorry for what you and your family have had to endure. And it's powerful to have you here today. Thank you very much. I want to talk about some of these policies that have gotten to where we are today. Mr. Jackson, if I could just start with you. You were Deputy Director in the Biden White House for gun violence and a special assistant to the president. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're also affiliated with the Community Justice Action Fund. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm also a survivor of gun violence.
You were their executive director. When was that? The Community Justice Action Fund.
2021 to 2023.
And you're affiliated with them now?
Yes, as executive advisor.
Okay. The Community Justice Action Fund is, do you disclose your donors?
Yes,
All of the donors are public?
yes.
You're funded by the Tides Advocacy Group, among others?
They're a fiscal sponsor.
This is, right.
They
that would be
handle
a
our
donor.
HR.
Yeah, This is a George Soros funded group?
No,
He's one of the donors?
no.
He's a donor to the Tides Advocacy Group?
Yeah, that's our fiscal sponsor. So they handle our HR, our back office, our operations.
Great, okay, great. So in other words, I mean, that's,
We're one of 300 organizations.
right, that they run. You are a
Yeah, but
subset
we
of
pay
them.
pay them to be a fiscal
Well,
sponsor.
you are a subset of that organization, which he helps to fund, right? Okay. All right. Just wanted to get a level set here. So let's just, I want to ask you about some of the policies that you've advocated because they're exactly what we see implemented in these blue cities, like defunding
Yes.
the police.
No.
Oh, indeed. Let
That's
me
not-
just
we
quote to
advocate
you from-
for
Wait, I
investing.
haven't asked a question yet. We'll get to, I've got a lot of questions, believe me, and I'll give you time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about this report that you issued when you were executive director, a policymaker's playbook. And I'll ask you to enter it into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Great.
Without objection.
Thank you. In this report, you advocate, and I quote now, defunding the police because the long-term goal is fundamentally to reimagine how the state serves its citizens in the project of public safety. You go on to say police departments traumatize residents through a destructive cycle of racist over-policing, and the answer is not to add any more money to police budgets. Talk to me about, I mean, why is it that denying policing to the most vulnerable communities is a solution? I know that's what the blue cities are doing, but why is that a good idea?
Well, look, I in no way stand with defunding law enforcement. I mean,
That's what your report says.
Sheriff Mike Sheridan, who taught me how to drive when I was 16 years old.
Wait. Your report, when
And,
your executive
and
director
as-
said
as-
you wanted to
as-
defund the
as
police, do
Deputy
you
Director of the
renounce
White
this
House-
report?
as
Mr.
Deputy Director
Jackson,
of the
do
White House
you
Office-
renounce the report that you authored as executive director? Here it is.
You're the second senator to bring up an op-ed or
This isn't an
documents from
op-ed. This
before
is
my
your
tenure.
report, a policymaker's playbook to reduce gun violence without policing communities.
Okay.
Community Justice Action Fund, copyright 2023, when you were executive director. Now you say you don't know anything about it. Now you say that you haven't heard of it, just like the Democrats who all of a sudden say, oh, we're all for the police. They've been advocating defunding them for years.
Okay, well, you can look at documents or you can look at
My
results.
question is, do you renounce this report now? You say
And my
you no longer agree
answer-
with this.
And my answer is that I led the efforts to invest $42 billion in law enforcement.
You've advocated
if you wanna pull a
defunding
quote-
the police as
you wanna
executive
pull-
director of an organization that you still lead and are affiliated with.
Never see me advocate for that directly. What you see me
So
advocate for
what is this
a
then?
comprehensive approach to reducing
Right,
violence.
the
and we've
comprehensive
recognized
approach is
that law
defunding the
enforcement
police,
is a
which is
part of
what
the
this
ecosystem
says.
the entire time.
This is so typical of what the Democrats do now. After your policies have transparently failed and led to the deaths of millions of Americans, now you say you've never heard of defunding the police. Your own report recommends it on page after page after page. Let me ask you about something else you say. Here's what you say we ought to invest in. Instead of funding the police, here's what we ought to invest in. We need to invest in programs that acknowledge the need for safe space initiatives
Yes.
led by lesbian, gay, bisexual, two-spirit, trans, and gender nonconforming people. What's two-spirit?
Well, look, I don't know exactly. You guys are pulling some interesting quotes.
This
here.
is from your
If,
report.
if you look at the report, the focus is on investing in violence intervention, outreach workers.
What is you
victim
say? You say that
services.
you shouldn't invest in the police,
So,
but we
yeah,
ought to
so
invest
these-
in
so-
two-spirit community programs that acknowledge two-spirit
Look, we are not going to discriminate
what
against.
is that?
We're not going to discriminate against any nonprofit that
What
wants
is
to
a
help us prevent
two-spirit?
violence in
What
our
is
community.
two-spirit? You say don't fund the police, but do fund programs that create safe spaces for two-spirit people. What is? I just want to know. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is.
Well, I honestly, I'm not completely aware of the language or
You
the
wrote the
spirit of how that was
report?
written. But what I'm telling you is that what we
What is a
advocate for-
two-spirit individual? I mean, really, this is your policymaker's playbook. You are the witness called by the Democrats on this committee, so I assume you reflect their views.
Well,
you don't want to fund the police. You want to fund safe spaces for two-spirit individuals. What is a two-spirit person?
I feel like I'm looking at a two-faced individual because you talk about reducing
Oh, no, sir.
violence.
You're looking at somebody who's
You're also
reading you
speaking
your
out
own
against
words, and I'd
violence
like to hear an
prevention
answer.
programs.
Here's the answer. The answer is you don't have any solutions. You want to invest in gobbledygook and take away money from police officers who actually keep our communities safe, and when you're called on the record, you deny it. It's all
We
there in
invested
black and
law
white, and
enforcement.
your
We
record is
invested
there in black and
community-based
white,
solutions.
and it's a disgrace.
We reduced homicides by 31%, and as someone who's been shot and nearly killed, I take offense that you would think that
I
the
take
last
offense
13
that you won't
years
answer my
were not
questions,
focused on
that you
reducing
deny your
violence.
own words, and that you are leading this committee astray. And frankly, sir, your policies are absurd. They're absurd.